Tessa, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna set up my timer first. I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Firstly, I'm gonna have 3 things in my speech. First, I'm going to engage to OO about their outreach and like media spotlight and whatnot. Secondly, I'm going to prove why then our comparative leads to a better likelihood to success. And lastly, trade-off. What if their best case scenario, where then it's not still better to our worst case scenario? First, let's engage to OO, right? So basically what they say that Americanization is something that is good because it has spotlight. You have political infrastructure to have more global outreach and whatnot. First response to this is that we have already explained that outreach could also exist in local like movement and whatnot, such as Gula beginning in India. It gains like global traction while it is a localized issue and localized movement, like unlike what Western feminism does. Or a fight for human rights in Rohingya in Myanmar also have a global traction. Because understand there is an intrinsic structure and intrinsic characteristic of a social justice debate is that inherently, number one, it resolves around the livelihood of a lot of individuals. So the gravity of the issue is that big, so less likely for people not to look up to this because it happens in a grandiose manner and whatnot. But second of all, it also involves a vulnerable individual that most of the people in current world right now relate to, because people relate to human lives because they also reflect human lives in that, because they also reflect the death and whatnot upon themselves, upon their family and whatnot. So exactly, intrinsically, these two structural reasons prove that intrinsically the outreach and whatnot is something that is symmetrical on our side of the house. But why then? But why? What is asymmetrical? What is asymmetrical is that on their side of the house, it will be worse to the local movement when you Americanize the movement. Why is that so? Because understand, in the case of like feminism in Indonesia, when they use like English satire phrase in Women's March in Jakarta, it has 3 harms. Firstly, it has no relatability to people on the ground that wanted to be protected. It has no relatability to household wife women who is not liberal enough or young enough to relate and understand the English satire phrases that they wanted to have, or understand the journals that they brought upon the social media discussion. But while these people are the most vulnerable people that need to be protected and to be empowered, or in the BLL movement, Papuan Life Matter doesn't have that particular spotlight and whatnot, because there's a lot of people saying that why would you care about international issue because it's not the same and whatnot. This proves that the relatability towards the problem are something that is necessary. It's necessary rather than the visualization of the problem, because visualization of the problem exists in both sides of the house. But the question then becomes whether or not the visualization of problem is relatable to the people on the ground. So we say it's not. But the second problem is, even if you have similar problem in US and in other rest of the world, but it will incite the rejection from the gray area individual, from these people who doesn't believe in Western imposition. But why those people are like this? Those people are like this because number one, because USA has a lot of intervention, Western imposition, while to those countries, so they don't believe these Western countries that exploit them, that harms them in the process. But two, post-colonial resentment that makes them don't believe in Western countries and whatnot. While these people in real life care about this particular issue. When Malala or Kartini brought about emancipation of women, these people relate to and support emancipation of women. But when westernized feminist comes in, these people reject because they say that this is not our culture, while it has the same ideological value as what emancipation that Kartini brought, right? This is exactly why, even if that you have similar problem, the receptiveness of this particular issue within this particular gray area people wouldn't be the same, and we say it will not happen. But B, the consequences of that, it will be exploited by the conservative movement. What do I mean by this? This conservative movement will use this political reality to their favor by saying that this movement are bad, by saying that this movement are our common enemy, or our global enemy. This is exactly why you will dilute the discussion about substantial social debate, but instead you will talk about how then this is a propaganda from US or whatnot. This will empower the conservative movement and dismantle the local movement that wanted to protect the people on the ground. This is why that even if the outreach is symmetrical, it becomes asymmetrical on their side house because they don't have the necessary infrastructure infrastructure to penetrate to these people and to defend from the narrative from this political opposition that exists within those particular country. But thirdly, whether it would be better on our side of the house because of three reasons. Firstly, it's because we have relatability to these gray area people. What are we going to use in our movement? We're going to use like local icons like Kartini, Malala Yousafzai, or any icons that are relatable to that particular culture. We're going to use folklore that are going to analogize the current contemporary condition of these people that are so close to their home that these stories are something that they grow up with. So most probably they would relate to this particular story because this is something that is familiar. People tend to accept something that is familiar to them instead of a completely foreign idea that OO wanted to have. So this is exactly why relatability will make the ego and pride and the hatred of Western imposition becomes meaningless because they have to accept this no matter what, because this is something that they're familiar with. But second of all, understand that localized movement is accessible to the people, because what we wanted to have in social justice debate is these people to be equipped to be equipped with the weapon to fight back, to understand that oppression in marital relationship is bad, to understand that marital rape is a thing. This is something that cannot exist on their side of the house because the journals is on English. They cannot have the ability to access this because we're talking about developing countries' household wife who doesn't necessarily have education because of patriarchy, for instance, who doesn't have the ability to like speak foreign languages, for instance.